Yo, peep game. NFL playoffs are upon us, and I'm gonna do my picks for the AFC games. And one thing I want to say about this NFL season, it had the interesting thing about it has been, excuse me, there really hasn't been like an elite team per se. Like you have teams that are really, really good, but with the right matchups, they can be had. So this is one of those this playoffs feels like it's gonna be one of those matchups. Like sure, the two number one seeds could end up in the Super Bowl. They have the talent. However, they could get matched up with a team that's a bad matchup for them, and they get the best of them in divisional or even the championship round. You know, we don't know. But let me get to my picks. I'm gonna go in order. So the Browns at the Texans. Let me say this: if Joe Flacco can turn the clock back to his playoff days when he was, at his physical prime, oh man, that's gonna be an interesting game. I think it's probably the most interesting game matchup wise because yeah, CJ Stroud, who probably will get offensive rookie of the year, just how he turned around the Texans like that. Like got drafted, started slinging that thing, man. So and their coach and Ryan's man, D'Amico Ryan's, man. There's a time that you could have made a case for him being the coach of the year. That'll probably go to the Browns. It'll probably either go to Kyle Shanahan or Fancy. I think that's the last name. The Browns coach. It'll probably go to him. But this, I think, is going to be an interesting matchup. Does C.J. Stroud gets flustered by a top five defense that can get to the quarterback, that has a defensive player of the year candidate in Myles Garrett? I think honestly T.J. Watt's probably going to win the award finally, but but I mean that pass rush is something else. On the other side of the ball, you got Amari Cooper, and Joe Flacco seems to be have like better chemistry with him than Deshaun Watson. I'm not saying Joe Flacco's better than Deshaun Watson and vice versa. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying what I've seen on the field. So this is going to be very interesting. I think out of the AFC wildcard games, I think this is the most interesting one matchup wise. Yeah, we all know the story wise. This is the Dolphins at the Chiefs. That's the most interesting one. But if I had to do my pick, oh man, whew, it's hard because I haven't seen CJ Stroud get flustered by the pressure, and I'm trying to think. Did these teams play each other? Trying to think. Did they play each other during the season? I can't fully remember. But if I have to pick, actually, I think they did. It was a high scoring game. If I had to pick, I think defense travels better, and Joe Flacco has more experience. And I'm not saying Tech. I know the Texans got a rising defense. I know that, but just based on experience, I might lean the Browns. Do I think CJ Stroud could have a great game? Sure. This is one of those games that would be if you're a betting person, I would say it's a pick 'em. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be in the 20s, maybe 30s. You could get a score that's like 31-28 or 28-24. That's kind of the scores I see. But I'm going to go with the Browns just because they have a better defense, and the Texans are still relatively young, and they haven't been in a playoff since in 4 or 5 years. So I love what the Texans are building over there with D'Amico Ryans and C.J. Stroud. They hit that one out the park. They need to thank the Panthers for that one. For the Panthers being so bad and their owner getting away, because I think the GM or the coach that got fired from Carolina wanted C.J. Stroud and not Bryce Young. But hey, we never know. Bryce Young could be doing what C.J. Stroud's doing because the Texans drafted well. But for this game, playoffs, I think defense usually travels well. most of the time in the playoffs, and this is a young team. So I think it's going to be 28-24. I'm going to go with the Browns. And now for the best story in the AFC wildcard weekend, Dolphins at the Chiefs. Tyrese going back to Kansas City in Arrowhead. It's to quote my New Yorker friends and fam and all that. Man, that weather I saw saying it could be -5 degrees Fahrenheit. That's oh no weather, and these guys are playing in that. Now, granted, I've heard players say that Arrowhead Field is like the best field to play on in the league, so maybe that helps with the field, but I mean, possibly 5 degrees Fahrenheit, -5 degrees Fahrenheit. That is all I can say. Is good luck, good googly mooly. That to play football in that, man, damn. and and I do think the weather's going to play a factor just because it's Miami going to Arrowhead Stadium, you know. So I think that's going to be a component, even though Tyreek played in that weather. So he's probably going to be used to it more so than some of the other players. Um, I know Mahomes had a down year for him because I think him and Russell Wilson had similar numbers before the Broncos sat down Russell Wilson. So it's been a down year for him. We know the issues with the receiving core, but just because they're an Arrowhead, and I think Patrick Mahomes maybe lost once. Now it's to Tom Brady and Arrowhead since become the starter for the Chiefs, or I think it's twice. I can't remember. They've gone like 5 straight years. I can't keep track. But just because of the advantage, just because of the home field advantage and the experience the Chiefs do have, the Chiefs actually have a good defense. I mean, I know the receivers have been pretty bad for the Chiefs. They can't get separation, and it's basically locking on Travis Kelce. But I do think if the Chiefs run the ball well, and you can run the ball on the Dolphins, but I'm gonna have to go with the Chiefs. I think it's gonna be in the 20s. You know, I mean, those receivers for Kansas City, they've been dropping a lot of passes. You know, and Patrick Mahomes been getting a lot more frustrated this past season. So I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I mean, I think if the receivers were more consistent catching, I do think they probably would have ended up with the number 1 seed or maybe the number 2 seed. But yeah, I got to go with the Chiefs because of home field advantage, the cold weather. Then they're playing Miami, and Miami this entire season has only beaten one team that was above 500. So I don't really, and they could have won the division and had a home game, and they folded. So I'm going with the Chiefs, and I'm going with them. I'm gonna go 24-17. That's what I'm rolling with. The last game for the AFC, Steelers at Bills. Look, Mike Tomlin is like one of the better coaches in the league that can get something out of nothing, because the Steelers were looking dead in water. I mean, they got into the playoffs, won the game, the right teams lost. The Jaguars folded like a cheap lawn chair. And had the Jaguars won, Steelers, we wouldn't be talking about the Steelers today. I mean, the unfortunate thing is they're a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and I think T.J. Watt's going to win the award this year. But I think he's out, and even if he does try to come back with a grade 2 MCL sprain, I don't think he's going to be as effective just because of that injury. And the Bills. The only way I think the Steelers can beat the Bills is if Josh Allen throws like 3 interceptions and the defense fold, and the defense can't make any stops. So I'm going with the Bills. I mean, the Steelers had a lot of grit this season. I respect their grind. Mike Thomas, one of the best coaches in the league. That man has still not had a loser season. I thought he'll have it this year, and all of a sudden, boom, they 10-7 in the playoffs. So respect to the Steelers. They got a hell of an organization, hell of a coach. But I'm sorry. I know you guys are used to cold weather also, but that Bills stadium's gonna be rocking, and I don't think the Steelers have enough offense to combat the offense of the or compete with the offense that the Bills have. And the Bills can run the ball. They started becoming a lot more balanced. So this one I think is going to be a little bit more high scoring. If I had to pick a score, I'm going with the Bills, 35-24. That's my picks. I'm going with the Browns, going with the Chiefs, and I'm going with the Bills. Everybody be easy. Deuces.